Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
Hey, all you Minties, Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions, and join me today for your advanced look at the Daredevil by Mark Waid and Waid Samnee Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So, let's go ahead and get started. How's it going, everybody? Now, before going any further, I do want to thank David Gabriel and the fine folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on January 2nd or 3rd, depending on where you get your books. And of course, I'm talking about 2024. So this is an early look at a book that comes out next year, but not too early, right? It'll be out in like a week or so. What we're looking at here is the direct market cover by Frank Cho. On the left-hand side is your standard edition cover by Waid Samnee. And of course, the direct market cover is only available at places like cheapgraphicnovels.com, waltzcomicshop.com, readscomics.com, comicsbugle.com, dyandbreedcollectors.com, organicpricebooks.com, InStock Trades, Tales of Wonder, and DCBS. And of course, your local comic book store, while the standard edition is available everywhere. Now, on the left-hand side, I have my original printing. This is the one that came out in 2018. And we're going to be comparing it internally here in a little bit. But before I even go and look at the spines, I did want to show where I'm putting this on the shelf. So this goes right after my Mark Waid Volume 1, of course. And that comes right after the whole Shadowland affair. And before the Charles Soule run. That's where this belongs. Let's take a closer look at this. Waid and Samnee's Daredevil can't miss comics. That is so true. Waid, Samnee, Rodriguez, Lopez, and Wilson down there. Same over here. By the way, this cover is not available this time around. I love this cover, even though it's a little bit of a spoilerish cover. You saw the other cover that's available, and this cover was available for the first printing. I don't know if they're going to keep doing that or not. The Daredevil logo, looking just a little higher than this one, and the Marvel Omnibus logo looking a little bit bigger. By Mark Waid and Waid Samnee, Rodriguez, Lopez, and Wilson, Volume 2, and then of course the different picture there on the spine. Love this cover right here with the Al issue. And then it is the Samnee piece of art right there from 2014. Waid Samnee, the best team since Nelson and Murdoch. Nice. A truly legendary version of Daredevil. The new printing just looking a little bit darker than the original printing. The original printing retailing for $100. The new printing retailing for $100. The original printing printed at the Donley printer, while the new printing is printed at the Mega Print in Turkey. So we'll look at the internal differences here in a minute. But first, let's take a look underneath the dust jacket and actually take a look at the flaps here. So here we have the flaps. Over here on the right-hand side, you have the creators, some of the creators, like Javier Rodriguez and Waid Samnee, Matthew Wilson, and of course Mark Waid. And then a little bit about the book over here on the left hand. Now, underneath the dust jacket, it looks to be the same kind of virtual radar that is portrayed throughout this particular run, and I love that. So let's get that first printing out of the way so you can take a closer look. This is the way that his, I don't want to call it a sonar because it's so much more than that, the way that Daredevil sees the world, and it was first introduced in the pages of the first volume. And I love how each writer and artist portrays how Matt Murdock sees the world. I think this one is so artistically beautifully put, though. So just in case, if you don't want any kind of spoilers, you're just buying this because it's Mark Waid and Waid Samnee, and you've heard so much praise for it, by all means, skip to the part where I'm comparing the art and the build of the book. I don't want to spoil this for anybody. Now, if you don't care about spoilers, I am going to talk about two particular moments in here that are a big spoiler, but I will let you know before I do. So even if you don't care about minor spoilers, there's no other way to pitch this book for people to me, because two of my favorite Daredevil moments, top 10 of all time, two in the top 10, come from this particular omnibus. All right, let's crack it open. All right, Let's go ahead and open it up. Here we have some red end sheets, which is different than the original printing. The original printing had white end sheets, but I really like this scarlet red a little more. And here comes Daredevil. And by the way, Volume 1 also has these, with this amazing piece right there by Samnee, and then your credits right here. And I love this right here. Storytellers. They're giving credits to the storytellers, not just the writer and artist, which you see all the time. Because to me, comics has always been about a collaboration. And you don't see a lot of this. And I love the fact that when you do see it, that when the writer shares the credit, as much credit with the artist. So you have storytellers, Mark Waid and Javier Rodriguez, storytellers, Mark Waid and Chris Samnee. Now, of course, there are issues that Mark Waid wrote and Mateo Scalera did for Indestructible Hulk, but for the most part, this is a group effort and it's a storyteller. I love that about this particular book. And, you know, we've seen that from time to time, where the artist gets as much credit as the writer. You have mostly the colors of Matthew Wilson through here. You do have some inks, but most of the time it is Chris Samnee inking his own stuff, but Alvaro Lopez is the inker most of the time here. And you'll see that there are different issues. Now, for anybody that doesn't want any of the spoiler section, let's talk about what's collected in here. So collected in here is Daredevil 28 through 36, the 2011 series, so wrapping up that series, and then Indestructible Hulk 9 through 10, Daredevil 1 through 18, 0.1, 1.5, I think it's 1.50 actually, and then 15.1, 768 pages. Now, go ahead and jump if you don't want any kind of spoilers to the comparison and the talk about the build. All right. What is happening through this particular volume? Well, this is in the aftermath of everything that happened in the first volume, where Matt Murdock is still dealing with the fact that his friend, his best friend, his longtime friend, Nate, no, I'm just kidding, Foggy Nelson, is fighting cancer. And he has come to terms with this devastation that he might lose his friend after all of this. But we are introduced to this guy named Nate Hackett, who played a role in the origin of Daredevil, and that's all I will say. He comes back into Matt Murdock's life. He was a childhood bully, and when he returns to his life, he's asking for help because he has made enemies of the Sons of the Serpents. Now, the Sons of the Serpents have been around in the Marvel Universe for a long time. You probably remember them from Captain America. They're a racist organization, and they're kind of blackmailing him to take the fall for a particular crime, and he's standing against them. So what you find out through this issue right here, through these first two issues, is that the Sons of the Serpent have infiltrated the justice system. Judges, bailers, police officers, they are all over the place, and it's up to Matt to kind of put a stop to that. And the way he does really wraps up this particular first act of Daredevil, and it does it in a unique way. We have an appearance here by Silver Surfer, where, of course, there's a new character. What is this character's name? I think it's Roz, something like that, that needs legal help. So Murdock is not just only helping people here in New York, but also people from the intergalactic plane. Now we jump into the two-part issues right here of the Indestructible Hulk. Now, this is just me in the way that I think that I love Omnis. I've said this many times. I love the fact that everything is collected properly in an omnibus, and this, for example, is a great reading order because this is put in the reading order, not so much so as when these books were released, but not to interrupt the flow of things. However, whenever you put in Indestructible Hulk, which was also written by Mark Waid and does feature Daredevil, it does interrupt the flow of the storyline with the Sons of the Serpent. And I'm glad that it's here, but it's almost like I wish they had put it at the end too, so I'm kind of in the middle. I swear, comic book fans, we can never be satisfied. I think it's just built to our DNA. But we continue the storyline with the Sons of the Serpents, and again, Chris Samnee coming back as the artist. This is the way that I was talking about, that Matt sees the world, and I love that because that comes heavily into play. The jesters hired by the Sons of the Serpent. There's this really, really cool, obscure. Doesn't really fit in, but I love it. Team up here with the Marvel monsters like Werewolf by Night, Frankenstein, the Mummy, and the daughter of Satan, Satana. And oh my gosh, it's so good. Like it, you feel like it doesn't fit in, and that's what Mark Waid does. And then when you're reading it, you're like, oh, this is part of a bigger problem. This whole thing about the Darkhold actually fits in perfectly with everything else going on in Matt Murdock's life. We see the return of the Constrictor here, and there's a beautiful team up with Elektra, who, much like Foggy, has noticed a change in Matt Murdock. There's some beautiful dialogue exchanges here when she was like, I liked you when you were broody. What is going on? I'm not really familiar with this jocular side of you. She's talking about how much he's got quips and stuff, and he's like, look, this is me like I was in college, and I love how long they've known each other and why she comes to help. So this is the fight against the Constrictor and Mamba, and again, seeing his friend and just not being able to do anything for his friend because he's got this cancer. Now, this is how the series wraps up with this big trial and is later relaunched as an issue number 1 with this particular issue number 1. This is when it was relaunched in 2014. And I thought that Marvel did an amazing job with how they not only relaunched the title, but almost kind of relaunched Matt's life. Because he has left New York, and along with Kristen McDuffie, they've moved to San Francisco. So he's left New York, and he tells you a little bit of background as to him becoming Daredevil, how he became Daredevil, and why he decided to leave New York City. And you can find out, of course, and it all has to do with the trial and the Sons of the Serpent. And I thought it was a really unique fix on how to get out of this big loophole of, like, if they're infiltrated the judicial system, and there are rumors that Matt Murdock is Daredevil, how is he going to play into it? Now, in San Francisco, he can't get away from criminals, so the Shroud and the Owl now have a team up where both of them are going after Daredevil. And this plays into big into the next story arcs that are told through here. We have the issue number 4. I love that cover. That's the one they used for the back cover here. Amazing artwork again by Waid Samnee. I don't think I can say that enough. And just looking at this oversized format and rereading this issue, it just makes me wish that they would release a Waid Samnee and Mark Waid omnibus that has both the Captain America run and their phenomenal Black Widow run. You have the Road Warrior in here, which, please correct me if I'm wrong, I believe this was originally released digitally and it wasn't available in the trade paperbacks, but it was available in the oversized hardcovers, because I know I've read it, and I just reread it. But this is a one-shot that he just has to fight a doppelganger of his. And we do have another one-shot right here. This is the Daredevil 1.50. And this one's really unique because this takes place in an alternate reality, in an alternate future maybe, or the real future where Matt Murdock has a son named Jack Murdock. Love it. You have the return of Brian Michael Bendis writing this particular journal entries, and not only the return of Brian Michael Bendis, but also the return of Mike Murdock with this particular story. And then we continue the ongoing story. This is the story with Maggie right here, so you do see the return of some characters from his past. And he has to go to Wakanda in order to get help for Maggie. So I think I will leave it here and just say, you're also going to see the return of other characters. You're going to see a lot of explanations. You're going to see, where's Foggy? What's going on with Foggy Nelson? All that is explained. Because I know sometimes people get confused when they read something and they're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? There's a little bit of a time jump. So what's going on with these other characters? But fear not, there are other Daredevil supporting cast members that show up through here, and there are other Daredevil villains that show up through here. Now, I'm going to talk about two of my favorite moments, and two of my favorite moments through here are very spoilerish. So please, if you have not read it, do yourself a favor and skip to the part where I'm talking about the build of the book and, of course, the comparison. All right. Of course, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite stories, and that is The Purple Children. The Purple Children sees the return of the Purple Man through here. And, the Purple Man has been around for a while. Kilgrave's been a part of Daredevil. offsprings had been a part of Alpha Flight and was a big part of the Alias. But this is a little bit different. This is his children, Kilgrave's children, where they don't really mind control you, but they control your emotions. And that's how they attack Matt. Because throughout this run of Matt Murdock, we have this lightheartedness about it. And that's the beauty of this book, is that you find out as you read here that Matt's not really happy. He just fakes it. That there's this whole depression going on underneath this smile that he puts on. And it really comes to play in this particular, I think it's a 3-issue storyline, where the children come to San Francisco and they take control of Matt Murdock. And they focus on everything that he's lost. Whether it was Karen Page or Elektra, or losing to the Kingpin during the Born Again series, or even the latest things that happen in the Bendis run. They go all out, and it puts Matt in the spiral of depression where he can't just fight it. This is the panels I'm talking about. Chris Samnee, just a master at this. They radiate pain and grief and rage and loneliness and despair. So Matt is at a loss, and he just falls apart. He's not strong enough to fight. He can't move, can't breathe, he can't do anything. So what this does is it balloons all of this built-in depression that he's been fighting by himself, not just really during this run, but a lot during this run, but all of his life, and just makes it come up top. And he doesn't know how to handle it. He doesn't know how to fight this, because it's not a physical thing. He's alone, and oh my gosh, this is just beautifully, poetically written. And this is how he snaps out of it. This is when the Purple Man actually finds him and starts beating him. And, he knows that he's down and that he can't get up, because he can't fight this. But there is something he can do. He knows how to fight. He has the momentum. And he can't let the shadows pull him back in. Inertia is the enemy. Do something. Move. Oh my god, that line just gives me goosebumps every time. Move, Matthew. Okay. And he smiles. I love that. Because what does he do when he's down? He smiles. Because that's something he can control. And that's a start. Oh my gosh. I love that moment. Like, that is top 10 favorite Daredevil moments. It shows you the beauty of the character and how strong he is. But it's not over yet. So him and Kristen have been building this relationship, and he's been faking the smile. And every time she's asking him what's wrong, because she knows about the identity. Of course, you see it here. He's like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I got a little roughed up by Kilgrave, and but he's in prison now. Like, I got a little roughed up by Kilgrave, but I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna take him out. So what ends up happening after the whole fight with Kilgrave, and what he does with the children is, so what ends up happening, he ends up, of course, defeating Kilgrave. But this is my favorite moment, is when Kristen walks him home, and you have this wonderful conversation about what's going on. And, he's like, I'll see you tomorrow. And you'll notice the change in the color palettes here, where he's going back into his apartment. And it's just despair and loss and blue and loneliness. So what he does is he picks up the phone and he calls her, and he's like, look, I don't need you to come over. I just need to talk. And that's all I want. And she says, of course I don't have to come over. I never left. And I thought that was so wonderful. And he opens the door, and she says, thanks for letting me in. And that's where that issue ends. And that is one of my favorite moments. Like, this little 3-issue miniseries with the return of the Purple Man and the Purple Children, and then, the fight with depression, because people deal with it. Like, everybody deals with this. And some have been fighting it all their lives. And I think moments like this is why we look to superheroes to escape our reality. or why we look to them as role models. I love this moment. It's a wonderful moment. But even the smiling and the move, Matt, oh my gosh, gets me every time. And the last thing, the very last part, I'm not going to reveal exactly how it ends, but I will say, Matt realizing how much his friends mean to him, how much family he's built, how much he loves them, and how much they love him. He talks about how he can see now that the light is nothing to be afraid of, not really. That he has to let people in. And I love this moment. And I love this line right here. I mean, I may not have eyes, but for the love of God, I'm not blind. Oh, what a way to bring it full circle. Oh my God, that gets me every time. And I know it's the last page, and if you don't care about spoilers and you're here and you're like, oh, it's not that big. Taken out of context, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But once you read the whole arc, once you've seen the struggle and the fight, and you see him realize, oh, it's beautiful. All right, let's welcome everybody back that didn't want any kind of spoilers. All right, so we have the back matter here, the extras, the variant covers, and of course the goodbyes from the creators here. And here are some of the variants. I don't even remember the animal variant. There's the Frank Cho variant, Salvador La Roca, Jeromo Pena, Phil Noto. And we're not going to go through all of them. I just wanted to go through some. These are freaking awesome, though. The 50 Years by Marcos Martin, Ryan Stegman. Some original art, and then the art process. And the end sheets right here. All right. Now, the binding. 768 pages. It is sewn binding, and like I mentioned, printed at the Mega Print. And it's got some thick paper stock. So much so that there's very minimal bleed through happening. I mean, you've got to really pay attention to it. But what I'm going to do is compare it to the original printing. All right. Original printing here, the 2018 Donnelly printer and the 2023 Mega Print. So here is your title page, which this might be just my printing, but it does have a little white dot right there. Other than that, the colors look really vibrant. And then your credits, which oddly enough, it looks a little lighter than over here. Love these slight differences in printings. All right, moment of truth. The paper stock. So the paper stock in the new printing feels just a little thicker than this printing over here. So there's a little more bleed through. Not a lot. Honestly, if you own this is perfectly fine. But I know it bothers some people, but it is just a little bit more noticeable than over here in the new printing. And that's for the white pages and the pages that have very light colors, like so. And that could be due to the kind of paper stock that they're using. You know, this is a little bit thicker than this one. But yeah, very, very minimal bleed through. Whereas over here, it's minimal, but it's a little more noticeable. And then how both books lay over for these spreads right here. Actually, the original printing is laying over nice. Like, there's no gutter loss there. Whereas over here, there's a little bit of gutter loss. So you have to hold it down like this in order to see the entirety of the spread. But, I mean, mainly you can tell there with the E. But it's very, very minor difference. But by the time you get to the middle, they're about the same as far as the gutter loss, which is very, very minimal. But that, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this book, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code NEARMINTCONDITION at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus, and of course the comparison to the original printing. Let me know in the comments down below if you're picking this up, which cover you're going to get in case you missed out on it the first time around, or if you already have it and you're happy with your printing, or if you have the oversized hardcovers or trade paperbacks and you're fine with those. What you thought of the stories, without going into spoilers, of course, because for the people that haven't read it and they like to lurk in the comments, but if you are going to throw spoilers out there, throw the little spoiler tags. That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.